I wanted to give you a little bit of additional information in regards to emotional release technique. This is an emotional technique that can be very powerful. It does take a little bit of maybe extra explanation, and it does take a little bit of practice as well. But it's one of those things that if you put a little bit of time into it and really apply it, you'll come to the point where you'll be like, oh, that's how that's supposed to feel. And from then on, it will be very easy for you to apply it in your life, and your results will accelerate. So keep working on this, and I'm here with this video to give you a little bit of extra insight in regards to applying it in your life and kind of how it feels and that sort of thing. Emotion is one of those things that can be helped in many different ways, and this technique, and there's a lot of variations of it out there. I learned it from a doctor in Missouri and have applied it in my life with great success. It's really kind of life-changing. I'd recommend that the first several times that you do it, you print out or have your phone in front of you and follow the emotional release technique letter that we have. It goes into a little bit of detailed explanation and gives a little bit of an anecdote and that sort of thing, but here's the steps that go along with it. Identify an emotion that you'd like to release. This can be something that is very strongly felt. It can be something that is not very strongly felt, and that might be a little bit easier to release on at the beginning especially. So make your own decision there. But what you want to do is to be able to get a hold of that emotion and basically really feel it. Remember back when that started, or maybe you don't know when that started, but then you feel this emotion strongly, but really kind of get a hold of that emotion and feel it in your body. And then what you want to do is rate that emotion on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10. You could do that. A 10 being like, this emotion is horrible, it's overwhelming my life, it's completely taken hold of me. And a 0 is like, I don't even have it anymore, no problem. Rate the emotion, and let's say for this video that the emotion's like a 7. Really get a hold of that emotion and then ask yourself this question: would you just let that go? And then what you want to do is think about that question, then answer it as well. And you can be like, yes, okay, I'm letting it go. Or you may say, no, I feel this emotion too strongly to let go. And that's okay. Or maybe you're in a situation where I'm not sure if I could or not, and that's okay as well. But then you go on to the next step, work on getting a hold of that same emotion, rate it again, and if you release many times, you're in a situation where that 7 that you felt before may go down to a 5 or maybe a 6, something along those lines, and you go back up to the previous step and say, would you just let that feeling go? And then answer the question. If you feel like you can let that go, go ahead, answer the question, and then move on to rating it again. And you go in this circle, and you can do this for quite some time, depending on how aggressive the emotion is in your life. You may spend 15, 20 minutes on this one emotion where you're working on trying to let it go and working on trying to let it go. Emotions have a hold over us in many cases, and that's what we're trying to get rid of, is that emotional hold that they have. This technique is really great for that. Another thing that may help is kind of trying to give you an idea of how it feels to release. And some people just feel it like in the brain. Some of my patients are like, well, I don't really feel it in the body, but I'm letting it go from a standpoint of thinking about it. And that's okay, especially at the beginning. But some people, what you want to do is eventually try to feel it in your body. And I tell people that it kind of feels like if you're carrying a big load of something, you have a big heavy load and you've been carrying it for a while, and it's quite a strain, and then you just let that go. Say you drop that load on the floor, it's that feeling of like, the blood's coming back into my arms, and things are flowing again, and I'm not straining anymore. It's that release like that. That's kind of how letting go feels. When you get a hold of an emotion and then you rate it and then you let that go, maybe it's still there a little bit, and then you rate it and you let that go, and then maybe you rate it again and let that emotion go. It just kind of lets everything, and this can be very calming feeling, and that's okay. But if you do this, particularly on emotion that has hooks into you, those hooks will have less and less power over you, essentially, and that emotion will eventually decrease and decrease and decrease and decrease until it goes away altogether. I spent a lot of a school year doing this. I would go with my schedule. I'd go pick up my kids from school on Friday, and so I'd usually get there early. So I had about 30 minutes to hang out and just wait on them to come out to the car. And I spent most of that school year doing this particular technique while I was waiting, and it was some of the most productive time I've ever spent, because that has benefited me. And that was years ago when my kids were in like elementary school, junior high, and that has benefited me to this day. I release on a regular basis, just walking around, and that's one of the things I really love about this technique. You don't have to be sitting and meditating and set aside 20 minutes for it or anything like that. You can just release anytime. You're walking around, you're talking to somebody, you're interacting with people, you have some kind of a negative emotion come up, whether it's related to the situation or not, and you can just release on that. And releasing doesn't mean that if you have an interaction with somebody and you release on negative emotions that you have with it, it doesn't mean that you aren't taking positive action for yourself. But it just means you're releasing the emotion that's associated with that interaction. So keep that in mind as you go through it as well. But I really appreciate you listening, and I hope this was helpful. If you have any additional questions on that, shoot us an email, and we'll try to get that worked out. So again, thanks very much.